Hello and welcome. I am Arumba. Thank you for joining me. This is going to be a guide to how claims work and the various different Casus Belli that you can use to help expand your realm. So to cover this topic, first we need to talk about the two primary types of claims. We've got strong claims and weak claims. Now, strong claims are generated anytime a character dies, and also through the Fabricate Claims plot. Or not plot, rather, but the Fabricate Claims Chancellor activity. And then also you can fabricate claims through some plotting as well. Now, what happens is, when a character dies, the three people who are in line to inherit, in that order, will all get strong claims on the county, or duchy, or kingdom, or empire. In general, the first person will actually inherit all of that land, so his claims will be hidden because he'll own the land. But all three characters who are in line to inherit get strong claims. Think about it like this. You're an old man, you have three sons. When you die, all three of them can basically say, hey, that was my father's land, I deserve it too. Like, I have some claim to it. Now, all other children will end up with weak claims. So if you have, say, four sons, the first three will get strong claims, the fourth will just get a weak claim, because he's further down the line in succession. Or, for instance, if you have a daughter, she will get a weak claim. Even if she's the second-born daughter, or second-born child, she'll still get a weak claim, because she's not in line to inherit. And think about it like this. You know, let's say you've got that same scenario, three sons, they're all murdered or killed in combat or whatever, and you, this third or fourth child down the line, if you're a woman or even just the fourth son, you can basically come back to your land and say, hey, they're all dead, I should be able to attack that land, right? Well, with a weak claim, you can only do it against certain circumstances. So let's go down here and take a look at the Spanish kings. This is a great example. This is the very beginning of the game. We've got King Garcia, King Alfonso, and King Sancho. And they've got this pesky younger sister here, Princess Urraca, who does have a weak claim to all three kingdoms. And what you'll often see happen is one of them will die or get murdered, but not after they have their own little son. So they put a 0-year-old on the throne, and then Princess Urraca exercises her weak claim on the kingdom. Because weak claims can only be pressed in these four circumstances. They can only be pressed against, they can always be pressed against female rulers. So if somehow a woman comes into power, a male can always press the claim against her. They can be pressed against regencies. They can also be pressed against titles that are currently being contested in any kind of a claim or succession crisis. And they can also be pressed if the title, the claimant is currently second or third in line to inherit. So even if none of those other circumstances are the case, if you are, say, third in line to inherit the kingdom of Galicia, for example, you hover over this here and you see that, you know, Urraca, she's third in line, so she could actually press her claim right now, except, you know, she's a woman and she has no power, so she's not going to be able to. But when you are third in line to inherit, or second in line to inherit, you can press a weak claim. So that's the primary difference between strong claims and weak claims. Now, when you use the Fabricate Plot, the Fabricate Claims character ambition or counselor activity here, that's going to create a strong claim that's not inheritable. So you have to actually attack one time at least, whether it ends in white peace or victory or anything. Even if it ends inconclusively, then it will become an inheritable claim. So let's talk about some of the other Casus Belli now. If you're playing as a Christian, you're going to have to marry off your daughters or marry your sons to the third and fourth daughters of another county or kingdom in order to generate those inheritable claims for your future children. And then you'll be able to press those claims at that point. But there are some other Casus Belli you can use as well. For instance, let's talk about, looks like we've got holy wars. Holy wars can always be done if you have two different religious groups. So for instance, the Catholics versus the Sunni. But in a recent patch, they did make it so you've got to be within a certain distance of them. So I've chosen King Philip of France as our actual character. You'll notice that we cannot attack everybody. We can only attack some of the Muslims, and they've got to be within a certain distance of us. I've also cheated and given myself a strong claim on the Kingdom of Navarra, just to show you here that when you have this diplomatic relations map mode enabled, you can see which counties you're actually allowed to attack. Right now I can attack the Holy Roman Emperor for some reason. Let's find out why. We have a title claimant, the Bishop of Chalons, has a claim to the county of Hainaut, or Hainaut, however you pronounce it. We also have a de jure claim on Vivares, so that's part of one of our duchies. So we can attack the Holy Roman Emperor because that land is de jure part of our land. By right, it should be ours. That's an example of another way you can attack, is de jure claims. You've got de jure duchy claims, de jure kingdom claims, and de jure empire claims. They can generally only be pressed on a single county. So there's that. We've also got the Holy Wars we were talking about. So we've got two different religious groups, right? And you attack with a Holy War over a duchy. Holy Wars are always duchy-based. Now if I were to attack, say, this character, he only has 2 counties, and the Holy War would be for the Duchy of Barcelona. Any land he holds within the Duchy of Barcelona, I can attack over. So we can see this is the entire portion of Barcelona. It's got 6 counties in it, and I just take the 2 that he controls. If you have somebody where there's multiple duchies, or multiple characters who hold land in a duchy, I could attack all 3 of these characters once I get close enough to them, and have 3 separate Holy Wars going for the Duchy of Aragon. It'd be 3 separate wars just over 1 county. Or if I attack a larger character, like this guy, I could do a Holy War for a complete duchy. Now again, I can't attack this duchy because it's too far away, but this one is within reach. Or within 2 sea tiles, or directly adjacent. That's the rule. So the reason I'm able to attack Devar is because he's my neighbor. The reason I'm able to attack these people is because they're within 2 sea tiles of my land. I don't have anybody right now that's directly bordering me. Now we've also got to talk about Crusades and Jihads. A crusade is something that happens periodically throughout the game where the Pope will declare a crusade. He'll choose another kingdom, an entire kingdom, to attack. Almost always the first one is going to be Jerusalem. That's basically scripted into the game to happen. But it doesn't always have to be that way. If, let's say you start off as one of the Muslims down here and you get super aggressive and somehow find yourself taking over Ireland, don't be surprised when the Pope calls a crusade for Ireland. He can choose it on any kingdom. So Jerusalem's the most ideal for him, but the crusade can happen in more than just Jerusalem and other places as well. A jihad is basically the opposite, but it's called by the caliph. The caliph and the sultan of the Seljuk Sultanate will start declaring jihads against the Christians. So that is it's a kingdom-wide war where they'll take over the entire kingdom. Oftentimes, in fact, this first war actually starts off. It's the Seljuk invasion of Armenia. This is an invasion. It's not a jihad, but still, it's over an entire kingdom. We've also got Conquest as a Casus Belli to talk about. Muslims and pagans can always activate a Conquest Casus Belli. What that lets them do is to attack any directly adjacent county just because they want to. It costs them some piety to declare it, but it allows for Muslims and pagans to constantly be attacking and expanding if they want to. This is really important when you're playing as Muslim because you have to deal with decadence. And sometimes if you don't have enough land to give away, you will have difficulty managing your decadence. So the Conquest Casus Belli allows you to always expand regardless of actually having a claim to be allowed to do it. We've also got the a Pope-sanctioned invasion. Now let's say we're playing as a Christian and I want to attack England, but I don't have any claim to it. Well, if the Pope likes me enough and he hates the King of England enough, I can first, usually, as a good start, get him excommunicated from the church, and then I can ask the Pope for permission. I can ask him to allow me to invade another kingdom. If I used that Casus Belli, that'd be done right here, request invasion. Costs a lot of piety, and we have to have less land than King Harold of England. So you can't use it against people that are smaller than you. You can only use it against people who are larger than you. So you're not going to be able to use this CB very often, but it can be useful. On the other hand, Muslims get a invasion CB, Casus Belli, as well, where they're able to attack any other kingdom without any permission from the Pope, obviously, because he's a different religion. without even permission from their religious head. They can just attack any kingdom. Still costs them 500 piety, but you have to watch out for big Muslim empires just attacking in invasions. That is essentially what the Seljuk is doing here with the Kingdom of Armenia. That is this invasion that he's doing now. Another type of Casus Belli, or type of war that you'll see, is the Decadence Invasion. This is where if a character in a Muslim realm ends up at 100% decadence, it's a simulated invasion where this huge army shows up and will take over all or part of the empire. We have some conquests, some Casus Belli that are specific to republics as well. Republics have the ability to do something called a Seize the City Casus Belli. This can be exercised on any coastal province. So if we press E and then click on a republic, we can see here that he can attack all these characters because they're close and they've got, he can do a Seize the City plot, just seize coastal provinces. All this does is allow them to take over the city when they do it. After they've won the city, and that's the case here in Veglia, he currently controls the city. Then he is allowed to do something called Seize the County, where he can then seize the entire county. So it's a two-step process. First they have to take over the city, and then they take over the county. They can't go any further inland than that without fabricating claims or getting marriages. That's if you're playing as a Christian republic, which is the only situation in the very beginning of the game. If you did somehow mod it in and become a Muslim republic, then you'd always have access to Holy Wars, invasions, and everything else. And the county conquest as well. But what you can do as a republic is you seize the city, then seize the two counties, seize enough of the land that you can create a duchy, and then you can attack further inland with the de jure claim on the duchy titles. Now, republics are also going to have an embargo war. Everyone can do an embargo war, but it's really more prevalent with the republics. An embargo war is where they attack and they basically say, we want somebody to destroy all the trade posts in their land so that we can build trade posts there. So for example, let's say Genoa wants the Pope to do an embargo war against Pisa because Genoa wants to be able to expand their trade posts. Well, they would help fund the war, and if they succeed, those trade posts that Pisa owns would be destroyed. Now Pisa could immediately rebuild them, but so can Genoa. It frees up the land so that that can be done. Now, instead of doing an embargo, they could just do a seize the trade post war. Any republic can always do an attack on another republic over their trade posts. They can just attack them outright and say, hey, we're going to take that trade post from you. Within a republic, within a single republic, you cannot use that Casus Belli if the target, the other patrician, has more of a gap than 3 trade posts between you and him. So I can't see it from right here unless I change characters, but let's say I had 5 and he had, say, 4, then I could attack him. But if I have 5 and he has 2, I can't take any more of his trade posts. He's too weak. It's designed to keep them at least somewhat balanced. Now, another Casus Belli that you'll see more often in Christians, but can happen in other places too, is if you see any kind of a succession crisis or a plot or faction instigated lower crown authority, change the succession law, or put an alternate ruler on the throne, Casus Belli. This is where faction members or just anybody essentially wants to have one of those things happen. It'll create a war. If a succession crisis is started, like King Harold is fighting against some duke who has a strong claim on his kingdom, and he's in the middle of a succession crisis, that's when you're going to see other opportunistic people like Denmark and Norway start attacking England with their weak claims that can now be exercised because there's a succession crisis. Another thing that can happen is excommunication. At any time when someone is excommunicated, anybody can attack them and just say, hey, you're excommunicated, we're going to attack you. And if they do that, what ends up happening is that the character ends up abdicating the throne. He loses his position and his heir becomes the next person in charge. So if you don't want, say, this character on the throne of England because he's got really good stats and really good relations with his vassals, why not get him excommunicated and then attack him in order to force him to abdicate to his imbecile son? It's a great example of when you could force the game to do what you want. Another thing you could do is that let's say that this guy is only 13. Well, if we got King Harold excommunicated, then attacked him in an excommunication war and got him to step down, his 13-year-old son would just be a minor, in which case if I have a weak claim on England, I would be able to press that claim against this character. I would not be able to use my weak claim to attack King Harold, but if I excommunicate him first and then press it against his 13-year-old son, I could. So you can see kind of the purpose behind that mechanic. So there's one other thing I want to cover, and this video is going kind of long. I hope it's helpful to you. I don't know exactly how clear this is, but I think that Casus Belli is something that's very confusing in this game. So one last thing is there's a press all claims attack that you'll see occasionally, and you might get really disappointed because let's say you're the Holy Roman Empire and you've got like claims on this county here, and this one here, and you're thinking, well, why can't I attack for all of them at once? You can never attack for all of them at once unless you are the one who has all of those claims. In that one circumstance, you will get a press all claims Casus Belli against the target, but only if they're your personal strong claims. So if you're trying to press claims on behalf of a courtier or a vassal of yours, you're only going to be able to attack one at a time, and unfortunately it's going to take you a lot longer to consolidate the claims that you have and actually get them part of your realm. But you can do press all claims when it's your land. So if you're going to do a lot of fabrication, what I'd suggest is, let's say you're the Holy Roman Empire and you want to fabricate some claims on France. Well, send your chancellor there, fabricate claims in that county, get the claim, wait a bit, get another claim here and another claim here, get like 5 of them at once. Fabricate a bunch at once, and then do the press all claims Casus Belli so you get a bunch of land from France, instead of just doing it one county at a time and having to wait for your truce timer to expire, or having to murder the guy after every single conquest. So that's some information on Casus Belli. Just keep in mind that every single time a character dies, Casus Belli's will be generated, strong claims and weak claims. Marrying off your kids, or if I want to claim on Norway, find some 5th generation, 5th kid in line and marry that person to your family, because you will get claims. You just need to get some practice with using them and plotting and murdering so that you can get the game in a position where you're able to attack and use the claims for your benefit. So it's more difficult to play as a Christian because you don't have access to that Conquest Casus Belli, and especially if you're up here, you're not going to really have any holy war targets. For instance, if you're playing in Ireland, you'll notice that the only person this guy can attack is way over here and down here, and these are just embargo wars, and you would never do an embargo war in this circumstance. So just consider those things, and hopefully this helped. I do feel like this was a little bit longer than I expected and a little bit convoluted, but then again, Casus Belli are convoluted. So if you have any questions, make them down below. I'll be happy to answer them. And again, hope that this information was useful to you, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.